Okay, hi Critical Analysis. This video is for Thursday, March 19th. I am using a different software to do my videos. It's only going to start showing my screen, so you don't have to see me in my bedroom in the background. And I'm going to kind of decide if I like this software better. Just toying around with some stuff since we're online together the next 8 weeks. Okay, so on Tuesday's class, Tuesday, March 17th, we did talk about the midterm comprehension test that you were only having to send to me if you wanted extra credit. And I know several of you have already taken advantage of that. So please still send that to me. You can type your answers. You can take pictures of your papers. Some of you are sending it to me via text message because I called a lot of you and was able to touch base with a lot of you. So however you want to get that to me. On Tuesday, for Tuesday's video, we also talked about fact and opinion. That was chapter 6 concept was based on fact and opinion. So just as like a quick reminder, fact and opinion is the basis of critical thinking. So you have to know the difference between fact and opinion because often writers, politicians, leaders, sometimes will have an opinion and they try to make it come across as fact. And so we have to be very critical and we have to be able to evaluate when authors are doing that. So fact is grounded in evidence. We can check it, we can measure it, observe it, verify it somehow. An opinion is just open to question. Opinion is someone's beliefs or values. So we looked at some examples. I pulled up like the paragraph on the goblin shark. I pulled up a web page. We did some examples in the text. So we looked at a lot of examples. So again, a fact can be proven true or false. So that was something that we had to kind of pay attention to as well. There are such things as false facts. That something that maybe once upon a time was thought to be true, we have since proven false through evidence or more observation. It does not mean it becomes an opinion. It doesn't mean it goes away. It's just a false fact. So false facts exist because a fact can be proven true or false. That's kind of the hallmark of a fact. Whereas an opinion is open to question. It is judgment. It's someone's belief. It's someone's values. It's debatable. So we looked again at some of those examples. And so we look for opinions when we see judgment words, good, bad, awful, terrible, wonderful, again, that they're giving their opinion. Oftentimes, as we mentioned, authors, speakers, whoever it might is, try to make their opinion appear as if it is fact. So they'll say things like the truth of the matter is, or it's very obvious that, or it's a clear case of. Those are most likely going to be opinion phrases presented as facts. So you have to be wary of that. Also, as we saw in our one example on our web page in particular, when we did examples on the Tuesday video, often authors will mix them together. They will mix facts and opinions to kind of present the fact, but then their opinion on the matter as well. So you have to be wary, maybe not wary, but just mindful of that particular concept. And then the last thing we talked about were informed opinions, also known as reasoned judgments, is where authors, scientists, whoever it might be, have evidence, and based on the evidence, they come to their opinion. It's not a wild guess. It is informed. It is based on factual information. So that is a quick recap of our fact and opinion chapter 6. Now, if you already watched the video for Tuesday, the 17th, you would have already kind of gone along and filled out because we did the entire text sheet. I did not do any of the readings because I kind of told you to pause and read and then come back with me. And I did go through some of these questions, and a couple of you have already submitted your Chapter 6 text sheet. Your Chapter 6 text sheet is due Friday, March 20th. This is how I am gauging your week 9 attendance. This is the only way I know that you're engaged with the class still, is that you are logging in, you're checking your emails, you're checking Blackboard, maybe you're watching the videos, and then you're submitting this work because we still need grades, we still need attendance. So that's how I can and make sure that you are attending, is turning in these assignments. So your Chapter 6 text sheet, the sheet that's in front of you right now on this screen, is due on Friday, March 20th. There is a Dropbox for it. There is a way for you to take, if you print it off and take pictures of your writing, if you scan it, whatever, just get it to me somehow. Somehow I will accept it even if it's not through the Dropbox. I don't want you to think that's the only way you can submit assignments. I'm just being flexible, and sometimes that's the easiest way if you're typing your responses, is just submit it through the Dropbox. So Chapter 6 text sheet was based really on just a couple of readings. The Wes Moore reading, that was part A and B at the top here. The library visit, then held at gunpoint, was A and B at the bottom. And then your TED Talk was part C on the back. And I did go through some of those questions with you if you want to go back and rewatch or re-listen to the Tuesday, March 17th video. When you are done with that text sheet, if you are submitting it via Dropbox, back in our content area, if you scroll down to Chapter 6, there's our Dropbox right there. So the sheet itself is right there. You can download it. When you get into the Dropbox, you see there it's due Friday, March 20th. You browse your computer, you find where you saved it, hit open, and then submit, and it'll send it to me so I can grade it. So that is the Chapter 6. So I did want to also bring up our textbook one more time, because there is one more set of vocabulary we have not discussed. We have not discussed just a little section of the vocabulary. So on page 301 of your textbook, this is the biography section of our text. We do have a few more vocabulary words coming from this particular reading. If you are looking for it inside the table of contents, if you want to go to the, let's say, the reading number 2, and then the pre-reading questions and the reading comprehension check, you could actually just get there and then scroll down. Or again, if you're doing a search with the page numbers, it's page 301. So I will recommend that you read this. It's a biographical profile. It's someone who used to serve as our Attorney General of the United States. So it talks in you might be seeing a lot of that, but our current Attorney General talking about all the issues. So this is a really important job in our government. So it will talk about Eric Holder, who was in this position from 2009 to 2015. So I'll encourage that you read this when you get a chance. It's not a very long reading, but there are a couple of the vocabulary words that we have not discussed that come from this particular reading. So I'm going to pull my study guide up again, and we're going to talk about them. They are the ones at the top of our study guide. So on page 301, we see 3 more vocabulary terms. The word unresolved is kind of what it sounds like. It's just something that is not resolved. It's still an issue. Again, perfect example, COVID-19. This is an unresolved issue. It is going on. It is a current issue, not yet solved in the medical community. Also on page 301, regulations. They talk about different regulations that have to be followed. These are just rules, steps to follow, guidelines, things that a lot of employers, government, health officials, they have to follow certain regulations. And then finally on page 301, we also have the word controversial. Means something that is debated, not to be agreed upon. We have tons of controversial topics in society. Again, I hate to keep using COVID-19, but it's so prevalent in all of our minds right now. It's a controversial topic in terms of people believing, hey, we should completely be quarantining ourselves, or no, we should take precautions but still live our lives. So there's lots of controversy. You know, the elections were postponed the other day. There was controversy regarding that. So things that are not agreed upon that people want to kind of go back and forth on. So Chapter 6 vocabulary. At this point now, we've talked about all of these words. And I know, Julie, thank you for pointing this out. For some reason, the study guide that was uploaded in Blackboard originally did not match the one that I was showing you on my screen, so I fixed that. So you should have the right study guide now. But we went over all of these words. I'm scrolling down so you can see we talked about all of these words, mostly in Tuesday, March 17th video. Now, if you would like to see my completed study guide, if you go back into your Chapter 6 folder, here it is. There's my completed study guide right there. Chapter 6 study guide completed. So if you wanted to pull mine up and kind of take a look, it is there along with the blank guide right ahead of that. So just looking ahead, the Chapter 6 quiz on your syllabus was originally scheduled for Thursday the 26th. So that will be coming open next week. So I will talk more about that next week. But you have the words, you know that's coming. So the next thing I want to talk to you about is your Chapter 1 through 5 vocabulary test. because that was originally scheduled for today, this video for March 19th. So I went into Blackboard last night and I was playing around with how to get this test uploaded and the best way to approach this. And let me tell y'all, I had a headache because of Blackboard. It was just not compatible with the test that was already made. And so it's just not worth my headache. It's not worth your headache. This is what I'm going to do. The test is just there on Blackboard. You can see on my screen, you won't see it yet, possibly depending on when you're watching this video. It's going to open up March 19th, so meant for today, at 12:30. And this test, let me get in here and I'll show you. Again, these are things you won't necessarily be able to see on your screen, but I'm showing you on mine. This test will close on March 24th. So next week, this test will close. So you have until the 24th of March at 10 p.m. to get this test done. So when you get in here, you'll see it's halfway through since it's a 1 through 5 test. It's split between chapter 5 and 6 folders. Here's the actual test, that little blue link. You click on that. Bottom left-hand corner, it's going to open up for you. Again, I tried to make this like a Blackboard pure test, kind of like your mastery skills, and it gave me a headache. After about an hour of trying, I gave up. So for everyone's sake of ease, here it is. So when you open up the vocabulary test, you'll see that it's essentially your vocabulary quizzes just in an extended version. Page A, or part A, page 1, is short answer. So please just answer the question. For instance, question 1 says, what does it mean for something to be arduous? Do not just tell me necessarily the definitions of these words. Preserve means to, metabolism means to. That's not what you're doing. You're answering the question. Pay attention to questions like number 5. That has 2 parts to it. What does it mean for something to be trending? And then give an example. So if you are filling this out on the computer, you can just delete those lines. Type your answer here, and I'll be able to see your answer. If you prefer to print it off and handwrite it, that is certainly fine. You can just take pictures of it, or if you have access to a scanner, and upload it. Whatever works best for you at this point. All right, that pulled that up. Part B, correct or incorrect. Here we go. 2 of them are correct as written. 2 of them are fine. So on 2 cases, you will write the word correct. The rest you need to fix somehow. Please just don't write the word correct or incorrect. If it's incorrect, fix it. So rewrite the sentence somehow. I'm going to do the first one with you. Number 1, since the prerequisite for electrical circuitry is Algebra 1, you can sign up for both classes during the same semester. That is incorrect. A prereq means you have to take one before. So I cannot sign up for both classes during the same semester. So maybe my correction is something like, since algebra, and don't spell like me right now, apparently. Algebra 1 is a prerequisite for electrical. Again, I tell you what, I'm very aware that you all are watching me type. Circuitry, I have to take Algebra 1 first. There we go. So that's how I would correct that one. So please make sure that you do those corrections for the rest. All right, and then part C, fill in the blank. So pretty standard, fill in the blank. You won't use all those options. All right, when you are done, go back to where you see the test. I know you got it from right here, but you'll actually click inside of it, and you're Dropboxing it. So browse your computer, you saved it somewhere, Dropbox it, submit it. Or if you print it out and you do, you can scan it or take pictures, that's fine too. So that's the chapter 1 through 5 vocabulary test. That is due on the 24th. So that does have like a hard and fast deadline because we're alternating it from its original course when it was an in-class test. So please make sure you do that. I also want to give you a reminder about mastery skills. I was in their grading and looking around a little bit today. So under content, mastery skills, you do have, these open still. You'll see those: main idea, supporting details, making inferences, fact and opinion. The other ones will be coming open soon as we talk about them in the coming chapters. As I mentioned, I will be doing a separate video. It's just I'm like you, adjusting to this online format. And so I'm trying to get all my classes this week taught and settled and figured out. And then I'm going to start looking at doing like a mastery skill video, maybe one skill per video, talking about those. Hopefully that'll be helpful to you guys. But in the meantime, if you're comfortable with the skill and you've not tried it, please go ahead and take a look and try that skill. All right, the very last thing I want to talk to you about is your final project, because I know I've had some people ask already too, are we still doing a final project? So the answer to that is yes. It's just revised. I have revised the final project. So if you go into the content area and scroll all the way down, you'll see it at the end of your list. Mine is way down here. But here is my final project folder. I'm going to open that up, and you will see I have the essay and the PowerPoint options in there as originals. Those are what you already have. Maybe some of you took both, some of you only took one. I did that so that if anything, if you wanted a source of comparison, this is what we were doing, and I didn't want to completely nix this or change it a ton because a lot of you have already started. A lot of you have already sent me things, and so I wanted to kind of keep it in the same line of what we were already doing. So I do have the originals in your Blackboard. Now, the revised is what you're going to pay attention to. So the revision is the new rules. And as I said, I wanted to keep it as close as possible since a lot of you have already done your work. Now I know, I hate when it does that. Now I know that I have already made a deadline of your 1 through 3 notes page on the 26th being due. I'm not going to worry about that anymore. If you want to send them to me for feedback, absolutely. If you want to send me, hey, here's what I've done so far, what feedback would you give me, or what questions should I be thinking of? So you can certainly still send those to me. So we've already talked about steps 1, 2, and 3. Nothing has changed there. Steps 1, 2, and 3 of your final project are the same. It is step 4 that has changed because I've eliminated the second article. You only have to find one scholarly article, and I will put in another video about reminding you how to find your scholarly article so that, this was before break and all the craziness. I will embed that article process in a video inside our course. You're only finding one article that has something to do with your field, something like a trend, an idea, something you're interested in. Okay. I completely eliminated the old step 5. So there used to be step 6 steps. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, guys. 6 steps. Now there are only 5. I eliminated one step completely. So after you find your article, you're going to already start getting into what you're doing. And you'll see right now there's only 5 paragraphs. And I've also changed the point value. So I cut it in half. Because I'm not there in person to support you quite as much. So I cut it in half, and I still left kind of the outline of what you're going to do. Now, same thing if you are looking at the PowerPoint. If you are trying to do the PowerPoint option, you will see that it has been changed as well. Step 4, one article. Step 5 is when you start to put it all together. And then there is the proposed order. And then the breakdown of the new point system. Now, obviously, you will not have to do any presenting. This will simply come to me now. Your final project was initially going to be a presentation and a submission to me. Now you are just submitting your final project to me. I will, when it comes time, underneath this, in this final project area, I'll have a Dropbox, or you can send it to me electronically in email or whatever works. So that is the final project. I will talk more about that in the coming weeks just to make sure you're okay with those changes. So, quick recap. Friday, March 20th, your Chapter 6 text sheet is due. Your Chapter 6 vocabulary quiz is the 26th is when it will open, March 26th, next week. Your Chapter 1 through 5 vocabulary test is all in Blackboard. You open it up, because you're taking it from home, please just make sure you answer the questions thoroughly. I am going to grade it a little bit more harshly because you have access to your study guide the whole time. So make sure you do that. That is due on the 24th. 24th is when that is due. And then finally, I made changes to your final project. So you want to please make sure that you look at those changes and let me know what questions you have. All right. That is all for today's lesson, Thursday, March 19th. I will be uploading some more videos soon on the digital library as well as Mastery Skills Assessment. In the meantime, if you need anything, reach out. Have a good weekend.